Hi everybody, it's Carrie and welcome back to another video. So this is going to be one of my what I crocheted in a week videos. I feel like I have been editing so much of them lately, but part of that is just because I've been really trying to stay on top of like recording them, because I know if I start to push it off, I will just like keep pushing it off. I feel like that's the story of my life when it comes to a lot of recording. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and then I don't, and then it just gets like really crazy. And honestly, it's kind of filled up like one of my boxes, so I need to like move it and put it into the boxes so I have this space. I will say it's not gonna be very fun. I am just like getting back, of course, after the market, having to like re-market prep things, so it's a lot of repetition. I've been asked before, and I figure I'll start this video off by saying this, about how I guess stay in the mindset to make the same things constantly between the stores, markets, all that type stuff. I make a lot of the same things, and I would say a lot of small things that are the same, because I do tend to, with my stores, focus more on like smaller items, because I think it translates a little bit better when you add like the commissions and all of this type stuff onto the base price. It's not as bad versus like I have some items that I would sell for like, what, I'm gonna say like $35 at a market, that in turn, like at stores, I end up selling them for like $50 just to cover like the commission stuff. So I do tend to just focus on smaller items, and I think that helps a ton. You'll see that a lot of my like mass repetition items that I do like, you know, what, like 8 or 10 of, are all small items for the most part, because it takes a lot less time to make like 8 or 10 of a small item than, you know, of course, a big one. And I tend to reserve a lot of my like more complicated pieces, my bigger items, medium-sized items. Those guys tend to stay with me for markets. I try and have like my base items at stores, and then pretty much anything that goes like, I would say above 18 or 20 that I sell doesn't go to markets. I've just found that kind of works the best, because like I said, the commission thing just kind of blows up the price, and I have to explain to people, I'm like, you know, it's not like that item would normally cost like, let's just say 50, but by the time you're adding like anywhere from a 15, 30, 40, it really just depends, you know, percent commission. Like that's just like what I literally have to charge to just cover like my base. So sometimes with the larger items, I tell people, I'm like, yeah, just contact me separately, because yeah, it will be cheaper in the end if you just purchase it directly. Another thing that tends to help with, you know, market prepping, I guess, or doing a lot of repetition, is writing things down. Pretty much, I would say the day after or the day after that I get back from the market. So let's just say like if a market's what, Saturday or something, typically by like Monday or Tuesday, sometimes even Sunday, it honestly just depends on how busy I am and how like lazy I am. For example, this market, I had, you know, it was Saturday and everything, and I knew that I had to go run to stores and drop items off, but I knew there was like some items that I didn't have in like my inventory. So I think I feel like it was probably Tuesday. So I did the inventory after, so probably more later in the week, like Wednesday or Thursday, because I like knew that I was gonna be taking stuff out for stores, and I was just kind of like, well, you know, I might as well wait until I get all the store stuff out, figure out what I need to remake, and then I can redo the numbers. But keeping like this list like this, where I kind of write down my base numbers that I want to get, for me helps me a little bit, because I like to check things off, and I like to see like the list, I guess, shrink or whatever. It makes me feel a little bit better. So I do tend to make the list, which is pretty funny, because I would say besides this crochet stuff, I have never done a checklist before in my life. To-do lists don't work for me. Like none of that stuff works. So I just find it really funny that this is like the thing that I've locked into. But I do think that like when it comes to deciding what to make, or just going like, hey, an example, I have like 4 or 5 mallards written down on my sheet that I need to remake to get it back up to 8. So I'll look at it and be like, well, you know what? It's only like 4 or 5. I might as well just like knock it all out in one go, and then I don't have to think about it for at least a couple weeks Typically, unless I'm close to a market, my numbers that I write down to make are large. So an example of that's like, I think I have like 8 of each turtle. I have 8 mushrooms, 8 sloths. You know, I do like really big numbers in hopes that I can spend or dedicate time earlier on and bulk make them, and then hopefully as the market gets closer, of course with me, things go to store, so I always like to have back stock, but the hope is then that as the market gets closer, maybe I only have to make like 1 or 2 of each of the items opposed to waiting and then having to make like a lot. Like, I just like to have a lot of back stock. I think that fuels me to crochet, a lot of repetition, and I'd rather like sit down and dedicate like a day or 2 in a row to a pattern and like not touch it again than like spread it out, because once I spread it out, it's just not gonna happen. I don't know how my brain works. So like I said before, a lot of this stuff is just like, it's honestly a lot of one pattern. To put it simply, like, it's not a lot of like different varieties of patterns. It's just like restocking my base patterns. It's literally what I'm doing. I did take on a few customs that I've done recently. I'll see if I can like add a photo or something, but I did horse custom, and then I did a like lamb thing, so I had those to get dropped off, and then I'm currently working on another horse. So I've been crocheting other things than just like this stuff, but pretty much those customs, once they were like ready to go, they just like vanished. I had them like rolling out so fast. So this is just gonna be market prep stuff. Y'all know the drill. To start us off with, I have 2 pandas that are completely done, and I have one that just needs a little black nose. Sometimes I forget to sew things. You get so like repetition, and then you're like, oh, technically I do have 3 pandas. 2 of them are just like completely done, and this is essentially, like I said, it's just a restock of the item. Pandas don't sell very well for me. I don't know if it's the pattern. I don't know if it's just like pandas maybe aren't as popular, but these particular ones don't sell like extremely well. I think I sold 1 at my previous market and then 2 sold at a store, which I was surprised by, but so that's kind of where I got back down to 3. So I wanted to get back up to 6, and I feel like that's a fine number for the pandas just because they don't really move that much. So I do have 3 of them. I have 4 of these elephants, technically 5. One of them is in my car. Don't ask me how he got in there, but he's vibing in there. So I do technically have 5, but I have 4 with me today. And I'm trying to think, I think it was the same thing. Like, I don't really think I sold any at the market per se, but I think I sold a couple at a store, which is why I had to remake them. Or I must have sold at least 1 or 2 at the market for me to have to make 5, because that would mean I had 1 left. So I just was getting back up to getting to 6. But I think I might have to bring some of these somewhere. Don't quote me on that. But I do have at least these guys done. Here we go, everybody. Let's talk turtles. I'm in the process of remaking all the turtle colors. Basically, I think most of them moved at the market. I didn't have like a huge stock per se of turtles because they were just leaving so fast. And then any of the stock that I had left over from this market, they literally went to store. So I am pretty much depleted of all my turtles except if they were made baby safe. I kind of keep those with me for markets opposed to taking them to stores. So I just needed to like remake everything, and I decided to do 8. And girl, I don't know, 8 per color. I'm really hoping this means that I don't have to like touch the turtles for a while, just because they do take a good chunk of time, especially if you're prepping that many. Like, I can't tell you how many fins I've had to prep. It's absolutely like crazy. I feel I like have the pattern so memorized at the point that like I could do this in my sleep, I feel like. So I'm not gonna be able to, well, maybe I can. I have 8 purple turtles. 8, yep. And girl, look at them all. They took me so much time. I think to make 8 of these, I pretty much have to just dedicate like my crochet time of like 1.5 days to just do all the parts, to do the head, to do like, it's a process. I think more so than like it being some complicated thing. It's just like you gotta make all the fins, and then you gotta make the tail, and then you gotta make the head, and it adds time pretty quickly, especially when you're making 8 of them. I do know that one of these already has to go to a store, so I was like, do I make it another So I'm back up to 8. But 7 seems fine. Purple is not always the most popular color. Like, it just depends. I don't know. Turtle colors throw me off. Any colors throw me off because I feel like I know what people want, but evidently I've got no stinking clue what anyone wants. And people ask me all the time what patterns to make. I'm like, just because I do markets and my stuff's in stores, don't ask me for opinions because I'm just hanging on by a thread. Like, you probably know more than I do if I'm being honest. But I do have these guys, so technically 8, technically 7 by the time I record this, like afterwards, because I do have to take one to a store. And now we're doing some mushrooms. So I have 8 of these mushrooms. I think this past market I probably sold like the most mushrooms I have at a market in a while because they're kind of like iffy if they sell. It goes back and forth, honestly. One just jumped away, but it goes back and forth if I like sell a lot of them, if I don't sell a lot of them. But I did end up doing it in basically like the 2 colors of red that I have. This is the same color, my apologies guys, but this 2 different colors. So one's just a little bit more vibrant, one is the darker red. It's just, I think I ended up buying like whatever red Premier had when I needed it, because I do this in Premier yarn opposed to, you know, Sweet Snuggles, because of course Sweet Snuggles does not have any reds for the light version. I don't understand it, but I just grab like whatever reds basically in stock and then we go from there. So I do have these, so I have 8 in total. I actually got an order after the past market for mushrooms and somebody did it in the lavender color and it was super cute. I just never know if I should do other colors in the mushrooms. Like, I feel like red is pretty like straightforward and whenever someone looks at it, it's like, oh, that's a mushroom for sure. Versus I get a little worried about making like different colors because it might not appeal to a generic like audience. But the purple did turn out really cute. I have a lot of like Premier yarn that I just have like some mismatched couple of skeins of, and since Premier is smaller than Sweet Snuggles Light, I have been trying to think of ways to like use up some of the colors that like literally I never use. Like, I have zero purpose for them. So I might try and do some different colors, but it's not really a priority. But at least I have 8 mushrooms. All right, and to end us, I have chicks. I have 8 chicks. So, oh, and we're losing chicks. Let me put them on the table for a minute. So I have 8 of the chicks that I normally do. Of course, this is part of that pattern bundle that it's like chicks, mallard ducks, roosters. I still have to make the mallard ducks and roosters. I'm working through the mallard ducks right now. Chicks I went ahead and completed, and I made 8. I think that chicks might have been the main one that sold at my past market, which is really funny because like same thing, like I'm talking about colors, like chicks haven't really been moving at all. Then this past market, I think I sold like evidently all of them because I came in with 8 and I can't remember, I might have had to take 1 or 2 to its store afterwards, but I don't know, the chicks were really popular. I think the roosters, I think I sold 1 or 2 of, and I think the mallards were last, which I was a little surprised, but they sold really well at the stores, so I ended up having to stocking them afterwards, which is fine. But yeah, you never know with markets. I think it's such a gamble, and that's just why I try and have a lot of different items, because like you don't know. Every market I go to, people like different things. You just like never know what somebody wants, and I just try and not cater too much to the masses. Of course, when I record this video, it's October 18th. I don't know when this video is coming out. Editing Carri's got some problems right now. Like, you always hear people talk about seasonal items. I don't do seasonal items because of the fact that I just never know what anyone wants, and I've tried to cater to like the seasonal festive crowd and it backfires on me so bad. So I've given up on doing that because I'm just like, I can't afford to necessarily make things that aren't generic that I can't carry through over the year. So I tend to go for like this type of stuff opposed to like Halloween. It's kind of like Halloween, Christmas. Once you get through that, like you only have maybe 1 or 2 markets to sell that stuff at. I don't really have the opportunity to waste that time, I guess you could say. say. So I tend to just stick to the items that I know do fairly well and I've had decent experience with. So everybody, that is basically everything that I crocheted this past week. Of course, like I said, it's just a ton of market prepping. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing like fun or anything, but honestly, I guess if you're ever thinking about doing like big markets, like I do not do small markets. Like pretty much everything that I do is like, I would say a large market. The fees are very high for craft markets for sure, but I just like to go for the larger festivals and stuff. So I'd say if you're ever looking at doing like large festivals or stores, you need to be very comfortable making the same things, especially with stores. Now I found that they like new items, but then at the same time, they want to be able to tell someone like every single time they come in, like, hey, this is gonna be back in stock, like this person is gonna bring it. So you have to get kind of comfortable with a lot of repetition. So I definitely say if you're looking to do like big markets, stores, get comfortable with making the same things like 500 times. I can't even tell you how many times I've made some of these items. I have to be well into the hundreds on some of them. Like I have to be, there's no way I'm not. That's basically everything I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope that if you're in market season right now that everything is going strong and good and you're making lots of sales. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the day and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!